Ladies and gentlemen, American stock markets are no longer bullish on the future outlook of all things. Dow Jones Industrial Average plunges 980 points at the open. NASDAQ tumbles 4%. S&P slides 3% as the coronavirus has spread from China to Iran, Vietnam, South Korea, and Italy. As the super duper awesome and incredible Katya Porsakansky points out, the virus is interrupting supply chains from watches to lobster. As over the last 40 years, America has basically outsourced all of its manufacturing capability to China. Italy reports its 7th death from the coronavirus, and oil drops 5% today as the deadly coronavirus spreads. The all-time closing low for the 10-year Treasury yield was 1.37 in July. We're at 1.36 right now, and I think we will test 1.32. Bitcoin is being surprisingly resilient, which to me is weird because technically Bitcoin depends on an internet and electricity. So I don't know, I would think gold and silver would be the better play here. But please remember, in a real crash, everything gets nailed to the floor, although gold is doing very well, very good right now. And I'm just going to take a moment to point out the fact that for 5 years, I've been saying that if we didn't get off our war, oil, and deception economy of dividing and conquering all the families of our planet, we would have serious hell to pay. So that seems incredibly accurate. And many times in 2019, I warned that there was a 99% chance we were going to see a market crash in 2020. That almost seems guaranteed. So, yeah, it is definitely not over. We got a major situation that continues to unfold. I did a Nostradamus thing where if Nostradamus is to be decoded accurately, we definitely have to deal with this as our main focus through July. And it should be coming to the USA in March. But prophecies for damage mitigation. And we're in Mercury retrograde now, and then we have Venus retrograde coming up from May 13th to 25th, which I think is going to be a big deal on all levels, and then the Jupiter-Pluto opposition in April. So, as I'd made a video warning everybody, 2020 would be the wildest year in world history, and by the end of the year, the world as we know it will not look the same. We still got about 800 million people on lockdown, which is 10% of the world's population. Eric Fegding, or whatever, however you say it. Last night, Wuhan announcement that it would let some people leave the city was revoked then by the Chinese government in a really strange, weird move. Apparently, Lego is now selling a What the Flu figure in China, or maybe this was before, I don't even know. 2020 is weird, man. But the silver lining of all this is that our president, who's the leader of the free world, will now be forced to talk to Americans about how to deal with the coronavirus as it appears to continue to spread across the globe. And, I mean, technically both parties had, done everything they could to avoid talking about the situation. And, yeah, I mean, with China's the number 2 economy in the world pretty much shut down and more economies having to go in lockdown mode, we are going to see an economic situation unrivaled. And my worry is, yeah, the central banks will step up to save corporations and banks without a doubt. They'll cut rates and do QE. But I represent the people, man. And so I would like to do what we can to keep the people fed, keep electricity on, and get health care to the people who need it during the next 6 months. It looks like the World Bank pandemic bonds are going to go through a full default, although as with any default, it's always complicated. But for the bonds to default, you needed 2,500 deaths across multiple countries, and I'm pretty sure we'll get that in the future. The World Health Organization It says it no longer has a process to declare a pandemic, which is really weird. It says the old system with 6 phases is no longer being used, and warns the coronavirus may be around for months. And I at THORnews have been recommending that we definitely prepare to deal with it through July. For over 2 weeks now, I've been recommending everybody stock up on food and water and whatever else you might need if sometime you go into lockdown. Because how it pretty much works is a case starts to break out in an area, and then within 48 hours, that government tells everyone that they should just stay home until further notice. And so now in Italy, they're having food shortages, empty shelves. And so it's, being at THORnews, Asset Fight Clubber, I've definitely been giving you guys a head start against everybody who is less prepared or informed. We are watching the coronavirus, which I do believe is a weaponized virus that got out of the lab. The cases outside of China jump, and this is probably one of the many things that has investors spooked. Eric Fielding, not normal. 2/3 of all critically ill relied on ventilator machines. Moreover, severe COVID cases spent more than 4 weeks on ventilators. This isn't like most viruses. Can other countries handle this kind of healthcare load? China car sales tumbled 92% in the first half of February on virus. What happens to other businesses in other countries when epidemic hits? COVID fatalities in China stand at about 3 to 4%, excluding Hubei province. That figure drops to about 0.7%. Though, do you really want to trust Chinese numbers or really any government numbers, man? And I would guess that we would see like 2 or 3 rate cuts this year, minimum. I just want to say again, I told y'all multiple times in 2019 that I was 99% sure we were going to get a stock market crash. And I said, this is tradable information. You can take this shit to the bank. We may have a woman in Ontario who tested positive for the coronavirus. And, as far as I know, they have like 8,000 people, I think, in California on self-lockdown. And then they have like 700 people in Washington and like 300 people in Minnesota. How this is being handled is just really strange. And I don't know, man, like I warned about, Democrats spent 5 years wishing all the Democrats would die. Republicans spent 5 years wishing all the Democrats would die. And Democrats spent 5 years wishing all the Republicans would die. And it appears y'all may get your wish. Congratulations. Yeah, this is going to be felt across all asset classes. And this is just the start. I still recommend teamwork. But I definitely recommend preparing for a possible lockdown. South Korea is also dealing with a explosion of the coronavirus. China could sell off like $1 trillion worth of U.S. treasuries to help them ride them out, which would be bad for us. You got your first case of coronavirus in Afghanistan. Super Gorgeous Tracy letting us know another survey-based measure tanking in China. Standard Chartered's China Small and Medium Enterprise Confidence Index hit a record low in mid-February. Here's the scary shit I've read in the last 24 hours. Wuhan to quarantine all cured patients for 14 days after some test positive again. So that some of the people who have gotten the Wuhan virus and quote-unquote cured, they still test for it. So they may be carriers of the virus even if they survive, which definitely has a weaponized feel to it. And weaponizing a virus was always the stupidest shit you could ever do, man. Yeah, Chinese medical experts on the front line of the battle to contain the outbreak warned the recovered patients may still carry the virus and be contagious. And so it's a pretty bad scene. No, all hope is not lost, but we definitely need to change our attitude and our actions. Because as I've said many times, that during the last 5 years that I've been trying to unite everyone to avoid this scenario, I pretty much had tons of people from across all sectors come out of the woodwork to try and stop me and even kill me. And your dipshittery unleashed this fucking virus. I believe it is our low vibration of hate, anger, and greed that got us to this point. And so the only way we are going to beat it is by leveling up, changing our attitude, and humbling ourselves and working as a team, or else this thing will run shot over us. Anyway, I am your Planetary Defense Commander. I have done a fantastic job the whole time, and I still love you, and I forgive you. So do your best to have a great day. I would definitely start your preparations for things to get weirder. All right? God bless everyone. Stay cool.